Hello, hello. Well, I've been teaching Pilates for a very long time now. And in the beginning, we really kind of looked at this idea of this thing called imprinting the spine. Well, even when you think about 20 years ago, since I've been teaching Pilates for over 20 years now, over 2 decades, we did not sit over cell phones. We didn't spend as much time over computers as we do now. We live in a society of flexion when we truly need more extension than we need flexion. Joseph Pilates believed the back should be flat. And if you look at images of Joseph Pilates, he's actually a little bit kyphotic. He's got a forward head lean. And once again, his client was primarily, athletes, dancers, etc., which for all intents and purposes have good body awareness and or hold themselves differently than most of us do today because of this thing called technology. However, let's discuss why neutral spine is more effective if you are a Pilates instructor, whether it be on the mat, whether it be on a reformer, etc., etc. When we move through like a roll up, for example, we're using a lot of hip flexors. Most people can't perform a roll up correctly because they don't have the body awareness and they can't articulate their spine, so they fling themselves up into that position because they haven't really learned how to engage diaphragmatic breathing. They haven't learned how to make a connection to the way their body needs to move. And it's funny because we're always saying, I want to strengthen my core. Well, core strengthening is not coming from laying on your back and doing roll-ups. Core strengthening is truly from being aware of how you handle, how you hold yourself. If you're in a slouch position and you try to balance on one foot, you're not going to have very good balance, as to where if you learn to lift your body up, then you've got great balance. So again, it all gets down to that kinesthetic awareness in our body. But let's talk about neutral spine. So in our natural position, standing, if we were to imprint, it would look like, okay, flatten out the back, tighten the glutes, your head is going to go forward. Now try to walk like this. It's physically impossible. But yet, when we're in a neutral alignment of our spine, we have freedom of motion, and we should have freedom of motion in all three planes of motion, whether it's moving forward sagittal or laterally in frontal and or rotational and transverse plane. So again, if we say restrict motion in your spine, then you're not going to get other planes of motion very authentically. So classic Pilates, a lot of supine exercises, which, for the day, what he knew was pretty effective. But our society today, again, we need extension and we need rotation. However, one of the tools that you can use is a blood pressure cuff, which is a very simple tool. You can find one pretty cheap at Amazon. Well, at least they used to be cheap. Anyway, so you blow it up so that you have a little bit of air in the cuff itself. All right, and then basically what you want to do is like give it a little squeeze and notice that the pressure goes up a little bit. So basically what we're looking at is how well can you, maintain neutral spine. And I get this question, well, how many cc's should I blow this up? Well, it kind of depends on the individual. If they're really lordotic, like I am, probably a little bit more air in the blood pressure cuff. So what we do is we just place this underneath our mid back, so kind of underneath the lumbar spine. And I need more air in here than this because right now it's kind of at 0. So I'm going to add a little bit more air so that I actually feel it. Now I do. So our goal is neutral spine should be the most natural place that you can be in a supine position. Now, when you imprint and you push your spine down, the pressure just went up. Not only when I'm sitting in imprint do I feel it right up in through the sternocleidomastoid. I feel a pulling on the back of my neck, which is forcing my neck to actually move forward because we're pulling on that superficial posterior line of our fascia, and I feel it in my hip flexors. So once again, can you maintain neutral? Can you gently drop the abdominals into the mat or drop your abdominals down versus doing this with the pelvis? So there will be an image of more of a posterior pelvis with somebody like me, but yet I'm not imprinting. But if my pelvis was neutral, now I'm actually in hyperextension of my spine, which feels unnatural, but it released my neck. So I want to think of, again, that gentle pressure into the blood pressure cuff and being here. My neck feels that I have total freedom of motion. And even when I lift one leg at a time and both legs at a time, I want to be able to look down and go, yep, I can do toe taps and there's absolutely no movement. Now, if I imprint like this is what most people do, they're here, the pressure just went up. So this is a really good way, something as simple as lifting our knees and doing toe taps, which again is hip flexors, but at the end of the day, I should be able to do this motion here very simply and with effort, but yet if I imprint, again, I'm going to start to pull on the back of the neck, I'm going to feel a shortening, and even worse is to imprint, and then let's go here and do this dumb exercise of 100. If you look at my neck here, you're going to see all these muscles are tight and short. All I gotta do is look down at the pressure and it's gone way up because I'm imprinting and my neck doesn't like that. So if I'm sitting, once again, in flexion all day, I'm already in this position as to where, once again, I am not a fan of all this supine work as opposed to putting the ball behind the back. Now my neck is aligned. Then when I lean back, I'm in neutral. This is my neutral spine. And even by lifting the arms up, looking at the ceiling, I'm in neutral. I got freedom of motion in my neck. I have no pain and I'm extending. But again, for people who find themselves wanting to do more classical Pilates, if you will find themselves, with this conundrum. Do I work in neutral? Do I work in imprint? Anytime we're extending the legs below 45 degrees, the hip flexors, the iliopsoas, iliacus, rectus femoris is going to take over. At least by 79%, your core is going to be turned on, being the transverse around 11%. So again, the choice is, what do I want to do? And we don't throw the baby out with bathwater due to the fact that a lot of people that do classical Pilates and have been doing classical Pilates, have that imprinted in their brain that these are exercises that they do. But limit how many you do, due to the fact that there is thousands of more choices in training our body that don't require us to lay down on the ground. I hope this gives you some ideas of how to find neutral spine in a supine position. But again, look at all the different choices. This is Leslie, your core training companion.